Hey, what's up, good people? Eddie Gray back at it again. And we're talking about Logic Pro. Today we're covering smart controls. And I believe that this is one of the most underutilized parts of the program. So if you're interested in learning how to use smart controls, how to learn it well, then you're going to want to stay tuned because there's a lot in store. We're covering the various layouts inside of smart controls so you can customize these for your production needs. And lastly, we will map them when the time comes to one of your MIDI controllers. All right, let's get right into it. Here we go. Guys, how you doing? All right, let's bring that music down. Hey guys, what's up? This is Eddie Gray. We're gonna get into smart controls. I hope you're doing well. I hope this transmission finds you well. And thank you for finding the power to get back in to the place of learning. We're gonna talk about smart controls. Here we go. All right, cool. Let's get into it here. Here we go. Let's put some energy into it. Let's go! Yeah. Very good. Very good. Feel tired. If it was a long weekend and you haven't recovered, whatever the case may be, it's time to get back into it. No compromises. Dedicated as always. We always show up. Dedicated as always, regardless of the external. Dedicated regardless of your mood, thoughts. We come back and we come back to the dojo, the place of learning. Let's get right into it here. We're going to talk about smart controls as stated. This is a deep subject and again, very underutilized. So very proud to present smart controls. Here we go. With smart controls, you can control the sound of the selected track using a set of on-screen controls. Now, we're still software-based here, okay? Smart controls can control the channel strip and plug-in parameters. Doesn't have to necessarily be stock. It can be third-party, okay? So this would include any parameter inside of any software instrument, any effect, right? And then looks like all of the drummer parameters as well. Smart controls provide a quicker alternative to opening plugin windows and adjusting individual parameters. So, we always talk about paying attention to the most important information because we know that information changes situations. So please do not let this pass you by. Understand that if we're going to utilize this and we're going to take the time to learn it, that Logic is suggesting, the engineering is suggesting that this is a phenomenal feature for opening up plugins. It's a quicker alternative to adjust your individual parameters. Let's go. Each smart control has a set of screen controls. And again, we're going to be using presets, but we're also going to customize our own. Adjusting a single screen control can change one or more parameters for the track's channel strip. So, here's another one of those sentences. You have the ability to assign more than one parameter insofar as the channel strip, the instrument, and the effect plugin goes. Now, this is really special. You really have to think about this because I could take one rotary knob, left to right, 0 to 127 MIDI, and I can control volume going up and also a filter cutoff going down, if you will, in terms of removing information. So that's really interesting. The prospect of being able to use one knob to create various parameters. Let's keep reading. Smart controls typically include EQ or tone controls. Okay, so they're giving you the heads up. Hey, when you see this, you're usually going to see EQ, tone controls, reverb, and other control specific to the type of track or instrument. In other words, when they built this incredible program and as they've added to it, they have set up preset configurations for you to be able to play in. It's really magical if you really think about it, because all we have to do is open up, let's say, DMD, Drummer, Alchemy, what have you, Ultra Beat, and all of a sudden, by hitting the key command B, we have these parameters all set up for us, ready to go for us to make any and all adjustments. Smart controls typically include EQ, or tone control. As mentioned, you're going to see reverb on there. You're going to see a couple things. Okay, let's keep going. For example, the smart control for a synthesizer, and they're saying might because it depends on the synth, include screen controls for choosing the waveform, right? Is it going to be square, sawtooth? What is it? And then adjusting the resonance, right? The filter cutoff. While one for a string instrument, let's think viola, might include changing articulations. So depending on what you've selected, again, pre-configured, preset parameters for you to enjoy. And of course, we can customize these as well. One of the reasons you gotta love Logic, customizes everything. Screen controls are labeled to help you understand which aspect of the sound each one affects. So they're letting you know, hey, we label these in such a way so you clearly understand what's happening, yeah? To work with smart controls, you can hit the corresponding key command B. You can also go to the control bar and hit the corresponding insignia. Other tabs may be available depending on the type of patch selected. So again, when you open up smart controls, there are some commonalities. We will see the controls tab, which you can see here in the bottom illustration, an EQ tab, which allows you a better user interface in terms of the EQ. And of course, you can always resize the normal EQ, but just another way of looking at it. And I'll show you what it looks like in a second. Let's just finish this first section. And then other tabs may be available depending on the type of patch. So if we select Ultra Beat, Drum Machine Designer, you might see some new things pop up, okay? It also says here that we can show these smart controls for master effects as well and sends effects, and we would do that with this right here on the right-hand side. So you see you can enable track, and that allows you to look for the smart controls pertaining to the track itself. But if you turn your attention to the mode on the right-hand side, we can bring up the master smart controls, if any, and the sends smart controls, if any. Okay. Now, again, these are things that happen all by themselves. You don't even have to try. All right. So for audio tracks, you can instantly access the tuner. So right, say you're very guitar heavy, bass heavy. This is something that's just, it's in there. You don't even have to go look for it. And then for software instruments, it's good to note that we can access the arpeggiator by hitting that little icon right there on the right-hand side. All right. Let's see. If your computer has a touch bar, we can utilize this to a great extent. All right, my good friends. And I'm not sure if you saw that, but if you look at the illustration on the far, I guess it's my right. I'm not sure what that is for you, but just look at that little pattern. It's an arpeggio. Okay, guys, Eddie Gray reading the Logic User Guide. We're more than halfway done. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for supporting the cause. If you guys want to support us in any way, that would be awesome. But primarily, we just ask that you share the information, and that would certainly be enough for all of us here. So on behalf of the team, thank you so much. All the questions have been rad. Really been appreciating that. So just if you have any questions, the way that I'm doing it is I go through the first segment. We take a quick break. I'll take any and all questions either pertaining to the subject matter or anything that you just want to learn about. And then finally, after that, we just finish off the day. So with that being said, you can hit us up in the comments. And then lastly, if you have any questions, you want to know more about what we do, just check us out, support@hfmusicacademy.com. All right. So as I said, this is the arpeggiator button here when it comes to software instrument tracks. And if you're looking at an audio track, you can access the tuner. Yeah. Okay. So as mentioned, smart controls, how do we open it? Key command B. Now, depending on what you're looking at, this is going to look a little different. So let me just start this off by showing you the drum synth smart control. So on track number 11, I just undid that. I have drum synth, a fairly new feature in the program. I'll hit the key command B. Okay, and look what happens here, my good friends. We see a bunch of decisions that have kind of been made for us. Now, I didn't make these decisions. These were made for me based on the patch that was selected. In this case, I looked for an 808, and I knew that a good place to find one was under Logic Drum Synth. If you haven't checked out this stock instrument, it really is really nice. You should really check it out. So yeah, drum synth, right? So then I went in here, started playing with all the parameters. These correspond, to be clear, these aren't new parameters. These have been made for us. They've been designated for us so we can go ahead and just enjoy the music making experience and not have to deal necessarily with the technical. So for example, this pitch knob corresponds with that pitch knob, and this shape knob also corresponds with that shape knob. So if I go ahead and start making adjustments, you'll notice that those adjustments are reflected inside of smart controls. So that's easy enough to understand. All of that really clear, really simple. What about when I go to EQ? Well, you may have noticed that in my channel strip, I currently don't have an EQ instantiated. So what does this mean? How does this affect me? Well, when we click here, you'll notice that Logic does the work for you, and it goes ahead and instantiates an EQ for you, because it's led to believe that because you've selected it, because you've gone into this window, you know what you're doing. You're a professional. You're a Logic Pro powered user, in which case it just sets it up. So you can make all of your adjustments here. This is money for a lot of people who just need better screen real estate, right? It's just a little nicer to look at overall. Again, you could just open up the EQ as we normally would and resize it inside of the view menu up here, but probably not a bad idea to just at least try this out and see if it fits. Okay, so as mentioned, here's the arpeggiator. When I click it, what's going to happen is that the MIDI effects plugin or insert slot will then be occupied by a new arpeggiator. So let's go ahead and try that. I'll click on that, and then again, as mentioned, it has instantiated an arpeggiator. I'm going to bypass that. I don't need it. Something else to mention is on the left-hand side, I'll work myself from here to there. You have the compare button. Now, I haven't made any decisions, and this isn't unique to smart controls. This is just in every single plugin window, but you should be able to compare decisions that you're making inside of the EQ. Not sure why we're not seeing it reflected here, but you should see it here. See how I can hit compare and go back and forth between those decisions. So let's see if we can find out why this is dimmed out. And then lastly, when we click on master here, as stated, it takes some of the parameters within my master chaining, in this case, the stereo output. I've inserted the linear EQ to remove some low end. Looks like I've inserted the Pro Q3 to do some dynamic processing all across the board. Compressor just for overall dynamic control and some loudness. The new Al Schmidt Leapwing Audio multi-effects processor, absolutely incredible. For those of you that maybe you're not a pure beginner, and maybe you are, but you just want a way to get there a little bit faster, really, really great. You just pick the source. In this case, it's a mix. It could be, I think, a subgroup as well. And then you have the ability to control your sub, low, mid, and high levels, and then in your high-end sheen, then some compression parameters down here, which you can link or not. My new favorite for sure. And then, of course, a multi-band compressor for more dynamic control. And I decided to bypass everything else just simply because there's a lot of processing on this track to begin with. So you can see the gain plugin is here, right? The L2, which is the final plugin on my master. So I can control some of these parameters, but please remember that all of this is open. I can designate it and write it how I will. So let's say I don't want the gain plugin. I can go ahead and bring up some of the Leapwing Audio Dyne 1 plugins, or if you have just the Logic stuff, you know, you can have it show up here. And so that's what we're going to learn today. That's kind of the name of the game. So again, you hit B to open up this menu. Now, depending on what you're selecting, this is going to change. For example, here I have a sampler, a quick sampler selected. And so we're looking at this GUI, whereas here I have Serum. And here, let me see. So here it doesn't know what to look at necessarily, right? And so it does have some connection here to the compressor and whatnot, but we can customize this a little bit better. With this one, the Q sampler, it knows what to look at simply because this is a Logic stock plugin. And so you can see coarse tune and pitch envelope, which are features that you could find inside the sampler, filter cutoff, so on and so forth. All right, here's Alchemy, key command B. Okay, so that is interesting there. Sometimes it looks a little bit different than that. So let me show you what I mean. If I open up software instrument, we select Alchemy. All right, look at this. This is usually what I'm used to looking at here. So Alchemy has this really nice XY pad. Got all these rotary knobs again that you can customize if you wish. Got these other XY pads. So really next level stuff. Now let's say I instantiate, let's see, 12 string split. Again, I can use the normal GUI. It's up to you, but we can also just go into Smart Controls and start making some noise here. So this is all the same sound, but because I'm flipping through the XY pad, the transform pad, you can see that all the parameters are changing, such as the delay, the cutoff, the resonance. So it's a real special part of the synth. You can see that it's much easier just to hit the key command B, make some EQ decisions if need be, go back to transform, play with the Smart Controls here, perhaps add an arpeggiator. You can kind of see what they had in mind when they developed this technology. Now I need to kind of point your attention to that inspector. There's actually an inspector for this part, right? So it's really nice that you get to customize what the experience is. So maybe you do not like the graphics, right? We can change that. Logic provides a plethora of options, so we're going to look into that, and then we'll talk about parameter mapping, and then end with external assignments so that we can have your stuff routed, grouped, and you can control your entire DAW with your MIDI controller. All right. Let's see. So yeah, key command B, and then the corresponding icon is right up here as well. Let's see, B, Smart Controls. It's that little knob at the very top. Yeah, key command B. Again, if you're on an audio track, depending on what plugins you have instantiated, you can see that I have a compressor. You can see that I have an EQ, and then a third-party plugin as well. So that's the case. So when I hit Smart Controls, I'm looking at controls for what? The compressor and Studio Cab's Zilla by Get Good Drums. If I go to EQ, I can see the EQ that I've already have instantiated. This is not going to basically create a new one for me. It's just going to allow me to work from there. All right. So everything looks good. Everything feels good. Let's keep it going. In addition to showing screen controls, You can view and edit screen controls for master effects. All right, when you select master, the Smart Controls menu bar, the effect on the master track are available in the following sections. So we can handle the effects, including but not limited to compressor, limiters, and others. And then we can utilize EQ. And I believe this pertains to both the linear and or the regular channel EQ. Let me just corroborate this by not selecting a bus here, but selecting master. Okay. And then I go to EQ. And yeah, I have a linear phase EQ instantiated. So that all corresponds. All right. Then it says here, show smart controls for the output track. Okay. So if you click on the master button, as I said, this allows us to look at the master information. And then if you want to see the EQ, I just showed you that. All right, bus effects. So in Logic Pro, choose a bus effect from the master effects pop-up menu located to the right of the master button. So in addition to master effects, you can view and edit smart controls for the effects on any bus. So for example, this track has one reverb from what I remember. Yeah, bus 130. So when I hit the key command B and I don't select master, but I select the actual bus, in this case, ambiance 0.2 long. I wonder if I retitle this. Let me just put verb by double clicking on the right channel strip. And then I will click the up and down arrow menu, click on ambiance, and there you go. That looks a little bit neater. So please don't underestimate the value of naming your tracks, including your aux tracks properly, so that when you look at the Smart Controls window and everything else for that matter, you can see that reverb is highlighted here, and it's much easier to look at as well. Let's see, anything else to mention? No, this needs, you see how this plugin's bypassed? See, it's gray, it's dimmed out. Well, this GUI is trying to show us the plugin, but it's turned off, right? So if I turn it on here, it actually will turn it on there. So it's a lot of connections like that. Spend some time with it and you'll see it right away. Okay, let's choose a layout. So each control features a layout. We're talking about the background graphic, a set of screen controls in a defined order. So the placement of everything, yeah? Each layout is designed for a particular type of instrument or track. So depending on what you have selected, it's going to look and feel a little bit differently. And if you don't like it, you can change it. If the selected track doesn't contain plugins, an empty layout is displayed. So in the case of this one, there is nothing instantiated here. And so theoretically we shouldn't get anything, but for some reason we're getting the track. Wait, is this the same track? UAD Empirical Labs. Looks like I'm getting the bus. Oh, that's because of this. All right, so I have the bus selected. So let me go back to track. And then see, this track I don't think had any plugins. Yeah, so nothing is here. If you do click on that plus button, guess what happens? You insert an EQ into the channel strip. Let's not do that. Let's keep going. So we know that we're going to select the advanced preferences as we've established very early on in this series. For right now, we know that you can also have Logic automatically choose an appropriate layout. So it says here, you can choose different layouts for the current smart control to change the number or arrangement of screen controls. In the layout menu, you can choose between layouts for the selected smart control along with the factory layouts as well. Okay. For track stacks, you can choose a layout for the main track of a subbing track, but not for the main track of a folder stack. So that's kind of common knowledge, right? The subbing stack actually processes, whereas a folder stack is just a VCA, strictly organizational. So for the most part, most of you, especially beginners, you should probably just use summing stacks for now. Subtracks for both folder stacks and summing stacks can have their own smart control layout. I'll actually highlight that just for later. When a subtrack of a summing stack is selected, an additional main track smart control item appears in the layout menu. Okay, good. Choosing this item shows the layout for the main track of the summing stack rather than separate all the subtracks, adjusting any screen control switches to the main track of the summing track. Okay, so they're just talking about track stacks and how that kind of responds to the whole smart control world, right? For example, I have a track stack here, and I don't have anything instantiated. So if I instantiate an EQ, that's going to go on the track stack. And now you can kind of see me build this whole thing out. But if I go to track number 2, that has its own unique properties, including the buses, which I can select right here. Or I could just go to the master, which is the right channel strip inspector. So all of that is here. All right, I want to change the layout. We're going to go into the inspector, as I showed you once before. We're going to click the name of the current layout, and all we have to do is click right here, my good friends, and you'll see a pop-up menu. All right, and we're going to choose automatic smart controls. So let me use, I have a guitar right here. Hit the key command B. I will switch from focusing on verb to the track. All right, and then open up the inspector, so smart control inspector. I'll kind of scroll. All right, let me see what, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, if you have EQ or control selected, you're going to see some other parameters here, so make sure you have the set to controls. All right, so now this is looking pretty standard. I click there, and up and down menu appear, so as to, you know, they're suggesting, hey, go ahead and click on this, and we're going to select, what was the term, automatic smart controls? I forgot what they said. Oh yeah, automatic smart controls. Okay, let me get rid of that. Let me hit automatic smart controls. Okay, good. All right, so then if you have this enabled, Logic kind of makes some decisions for you. Like, he has a compressor, check. Let me go ahead and use the threshold and ratio, and then it's making decisions based on, I believe it's my EQ channel 5 level, channel 6 level. But here, let's see if that's true. See, I'm making adjustments. No. So these parameters have been kind of written up or created, I think, for the Studio Cab. We adjust some things and see if it responds. Yeah, so you see how it's controlling it. Now, I didn't tell it to do this, and we have a whole section on how we're going to customize these controls to fit our workflow. Page 624, automatic MIDI controller assignments. All right, let's keep going. Logic Pro supports automatic assignment of hardware controls for a variety of USB MIDI controllers. When a supported USB MIDI controller is connected, which most of them are now class compliant, so you should be fine, knobs, sliders, other hardware controls on the controller are automatically assigned to smart controls and other functions in Logic Pro. Buttons are assigned to button screen controls. So is this a verb? So buttons are assigned to screen controls. I know that when you pick up, for example, like a basic keyboard, like something from Oxygen, as soon as you plug it in, it knows what to do. It knows how to play. It knows how to, create markers. So you might find this to be true with your keyboard. You may not. It doesn't matter because we can do this all in post if you want to. But just know that some keyboards will automatically assign. Okay. Looks like the faders are assigned to fader screen controls with the following exception. So if your controller only has one fader and it's labeled volume, so that's going to be assigned to the mixer for the selected channel strip. For devices with no knobs, faders may also be assigned to the knob screen control. Okay, so the first time that you ever connect a USB MIDI controller. You're going to see a little window, and it's going to say something to the effect of, hey, Logic Pro wants to automatically assign to the smart controls, and then you can just click on auto assign. No reason not to do that if you see that message. To use this device as a MIDI controller, click no. Okay. Let's see. Is there anything else here? So you can change the settings inside of control surfaces, preferences, MIDI controller. Control. Let's see. Let's just look at that really quick. Wait. Preferences, control surfaces. Here. And then what was the last thing she said? Preferences, MIDI. Wait. Preferences, MIDI controllers right here. All right. So if you want to kind of go in depth a little bit more, you could do that here. The buttons, knobs, and other controls on the following USB MIDI controls can be automatically assigned to smart controls and other functions. Select auto to enable the automatic assignments. So basically every single time I plug in the Launchpad Pro, it's good to go. So this is where you can do all of that work. All right, so now we know how to map all of that. If you have the appropriate controller, maybe I'll see if I can bring in another controller after the break. But let's finish up a little bit more here. When you choose automatic smart controls as the layout, all screen controls are mapped automatically. You can also automatically map screen controls for a smart control for which you have chosen a layout. Okay, cool. So what they're saying is even when you customize the graphics, you can have this automatically map. Why is this useful? Well, when you've added plugins to an empty channel strip for tracks with Apple loops per se, and with projects created in previous versions of Logic Pro. Map all screen controls in the current smart control, only unmapped screen. Okay, good. All right. Automatic mapping. Logic Pro. Open that up. Key Command B for smart controls. In the parameter mapping area, click a mapping, then choose one of the following. Choose map all controls or choose map all unmapped controls. So let's see here. To map all screen controls, choose map all controls. So we're going to go to the parameter mapping area. Let's go to this guitar right here. Here is the parameter mapping area. Okay. Now I don't see any other buttons, but I know that if we click on this gear menu, this is where we see map all controls or map all unmapped controls. So let me map all controls, see what happens. Boom. So then now, just by hitting a simple action menu item, I'm sure there's a key command as well. The compressor is accounted for. Studio Cabs is doing its thing, but that's not enough. We know we can also customize this as well. If you only want to designate unmapped screen controllers, meaning you may have noticed that I had, let's see if it's going to do it. Yes. Okay, you see how, ooh, what happened here? Thought I had a bunch of, okay, let me just clear this whole bit here. Let me click on the action gear menu. Let me delete all patch mappings. See that nothing is selected. And then let's just say you want to assign everything. You can also map all unmapped controls. In this case, everything is unmapped, but if you had like just the top row that was already taken, bottom row wasn't, you can hit that, and then that'll take care of you there as well. Okay. So that's automatically mapping to a smart control. When we get back, again, we're going to be mapping these screen controls to Logic Pro. So stay tuned. I'm going to bring a cable out. I'll bring on extra keyboard, and hopefully I can give you a little bit more information here. Let's go. Your guide, welcome back. Happy Monday. I hope this message finds you well. We're covering smart controls. If you didn't know about it, I'm sure your mind is blown away at this point, but there's a lot more here. All right, I just want to be clear about that. So I brought out a MIDI controller. You guys might know this one. Ever seen this? All right. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm taking a USB, this is called a USB, yeah, USB cable. You have USB-A and USB-C, so this specific extension is for USB, and basically just kind of clip that on, pretty basic, and then we'll start mapping controllers or assigning note on and off message here. This is going to be really good. But before we do, let's take a couple questions if we got them. Hope you guys are well. Yeah, let's keep this party going here. All right, good. I see you. All right, yeah. So basically, we're gonna be mapping the controller. So let me bring you in Logic real quick. Let's see. Go here. All right. So again, I've got this specific controller ready to go, and I'll go ahead, click on that track. So I plug it in. So this is happening in the background here. All right, so cool. It's plugged in, yeah. And now that it's plugged in, I'm still getting no particular special message. So this controller here is not automatically going to map, right? So if I start turning dials and whatnot, you're not seeing anything move on the screen. So that pertains to my specific controller. So if you do want to set it up, there are ways that you could do that in here. Inside of setup, you would find the appropriate controller and kind of tell Logic what to look for. And we will cover that later in, I think it's the last chapter called Control Surfaces. But for now, let's keep this going and let's see what we are going to cover next. All right. So let's be clear about what we can actually map, okay? You can map screen controls to anything that's on the channel strip, any plugin parameters. So if it's on the channel strip, any single plugin parameter can be assigned. Each screen control can be mapped to one or more channel strip or plugin parameters. So we talked about, it doesn't have to be just one parameter, right? You can have several parameters saved as a mapping, as an individual mapping, or you can have more. And of course, we can save all of these with the patch. So this is the magical part. So in the past, we just had channel strip settings, didn't allow this kind of flexibility. Now we can save parameter mappings by means of using patches. So another advantage of using patches within Logic Pro. All right then, so you can map screen controls using either the learn process, I would say is probably the easiest way. And then if you need some more, control the parameter pop-up menu in the inspector within Smart Controls. When you map a screen control, it jumps to the mapped parameter value. Only one screen control can be selected at a time. So again, that vital information that makes a difference, you don't have to read it all. You just have to understand certain aspects of the program. Mainly, only one screen control can be selected at a time. So we can copy and paste mappings. Why would you want to do this? Well, why do the work over and over again? Say you want to share mappings between different either controls or maybe different patches. You can do that. When two tracks have identical plugins, mappings can also be copied from the Smart Control on one track and pasted to the Smart Control on another track. So what they're saying is, hey, just a heads up, if you got the same plugins, you can actually just copy settings to make your life easy, right? Not a bad idea. Great engineering. You got to love it. All right, what else we got? When we start talking about mapping a screen control using the Learn button, let's figure this out. So we're still in the world of software. I just want to be clear. Nothing has changed, right? Right now, we're going from a plugin parameter inside of a software instrument, inside of a plugin window, and we're taking that data and mapping it to smart controls within Logic, yeah? So let's go ahead and select some kind of screen control in Logic. So that's the instruction here, number 2. So in the case of, guess I'll do this guitar. All right, so we drag this over to the left. Okay, and I am going to clear my screen. I don't need all these parameters right now. So I'm not erasing them per se. This is just a mapping feature. So I'll click on the action gear menu. Hold on. Here. I will delete all the mappings as I showed you before. Now again, we're not deleting any actual data. Now everything has been unmapped. So when I click on this specific rotary knob, it is unmapped. Yeah. Okay. So let's move to this side of the screen. Now we haven't even changed the graphic yet. Bear in mind, I could change the graphic if I wanted to, but I just want to keep this simple for right now. Okay. So I'm going to go into parameter mapping. Okay. And when I go into parameter mapping, I now can start to tell Logic a couple things. For example, hey, I want to learn something. When I clicked on the red learn button, you see that reflected to the right here is the unmapped knob. So you've given this particular parameter a signal that something's about to be mapped. Hence why it's red. Let me turn it off. See, when you do click that off, it's in blue. So this learn feature is telling Logic something is about to happen. What are we going to learn? In this case, we're going to assign the low cut high pass. That's found here. Now look, you can click on this parameter as well. I mean, it's endless. You can click on anything, but I just find, especially when working with an EQ, at the top of the pack, we have frequency. Then below that, we have the decibel if you're working here, or the curve or slope. And then you have the Q, or how wide or narrow this is going to be. So I'm going to click on frequency. Okay. So then now look, it's been assigned to the EQ. So when I turn the knob, you can see that it's assigned to the low cut. This could have been anything, by the way, and it could be multiple things. As we get into it, you'll see what I mean. So that's pretty cool, the fact that I can map an on-screen control. But of course, the best part is when we externally assign that to a controller. So let's see, is there anything else here in terms of mapping? Obviously, if I move the controller here, that behavior will be reflected in smart controls. Okay, let's continue on here. Let me see if I can. Okay, let me bypass some plugins. My computer's going nuts over here. Bypass these two. Okay, so we now know how to map a parameter. Okay, we click on that learn button. We get clear on what it is we're doing. And then you click on the parameter. You click the channel strip or plugin parameter to which you want to map the screen control. To map additional screen control, select another screen control, then click a parameter. So, of course, we can keep doing this from knob to knob. But the procedure was simple. Open up Inspector. I cleared everything out. I cleared house. Then you click on the parameter that you want to learn. You click on learn. Then you go to the plugin itself, click, and then you're all good to go. So we'll go through that one more time. Let's click on another unmapped knob, in this case, inside of smart controls right here. All right. And then I'll click on learn. It's now red. I'll click on another parameter. This time I'll do a high cut low pass. Right. All right. Then as I turn here, we're controlling the high cut inside of Logic Pro's EQ. Pretty sweet. The magic comes when we actually start doing these together. So you actually have the low cut and the high cut together. It's really, really nice. Okay. When you're finished mapping, click the learn button again to make sure that the learn process is out. I find that it just does it by itself now. I'm not sure if that's a new thing, but anyway, it seems to be happening automatically now, so that's cool. Let's keep it going here. Page 626. All right, we're talking about mapping a screen control using the parameter mapping pop-up menu. So let's see. Open up Smart Controls. Go to the parameter mapping disclosure triangle. So now there's more information here. Okay. In the parameter mapping area, so that disclosure triangle is right here, just to be clear. Okay. Click the parameter name if the screen control is already mapped or the word unmapped, and then choose a channel stripper plugin parameter from here. Okay, so let's see what they're talking about. So I'll click on this one, I guess. I'll click here. That sounds good. And there's an up and down arrow menu right there. Well, you can see that. And so when I click here, it looks like I can literally assign, as I would automation, inside of this screen. This is not automation. We're assigning a parameter mapping. So let's just say the compressor, we're going to assign the compressor threshold. So let me click on that. All right. And just like that, I've mapped it as such. If I want to change the name, I can double click on the text box, rename it if need be. Okay. And let's see, is there anything else? It looks like, hold on. If I click here, I'm just curious because it says unmapped right now. If I click on volume, does it go to the next parameter? No, it doesn't. So yeah, I think the easiest workflow is click on the knob that's unmapped, and then you would start the work, which is basically click on the up and down arrow menu and then kind of go to town. Let's see here. Let's move on. All right, adding a mapping. I think we've done this already. Click a mapping, then choose add mapping from the parameter mapping area. Yeah, okay, so let's try this out. Okay, so we talked about me having a low cut, yeah? So let me move this up and down so you see what I mean. Okay, good. Now, what if I wanted something else in addition to? I want to add a mapping to this specific parameter mapping. We can actually do that, okay? If I click right here, action gear menu, we can add a mapping. So if you start looking at the list here, not only do I have the low cut, but I can assign something else. In this case, let me go ahead and do like one of these band passes. I'll work on volume or something, okay? So you could do that here as well, but I just like the learn feature. I think it's super simple. So I'll click on learn. I'll click on the volume or decibel here of the, what is that, third band pass. All right, did it do it? I'm not sure. I have to move this to find out. I don't think it did. Oh yeah, it did. Okay. So look at what's happening now, team. When I raise up this parameter, not only am I getting the low cut as I was before, but I'm also getting an increase in this specific band, right? This, I think this is the second band. I'll double check in a second. But the point is this is going up because I selected the volume or the decibel of this specific frequency band. So again, as I raise this one parameter up, I have two functions that are occurring. Why would you why do this, right? Well, I don't know. Maybe you have a riser and you're cutting out some of the information and you want some of that low end to still kind of maintain its poise. And that's one thing that you could do right there. Yeah, it's up to you as always. Let me go ahead and try and resize this. Can I get some better screen real estate? Not really. Okay, so here comes my suggestion to you. This is why we're doing the work. This is why you're here, because I'm giving you some real world stuff. Otherwise, you go watch a 2-minute video and they just give you the, you know, the baby version, whereas I'm trying to give you like a comprehensive full picture so you don't have to learn this again. That is, of course, until they update and make this a billion times better, as they always do. So what's interesting is if you go into window up here, they have a smart control feature as well. So for me, I've got that set up under command 3. So this gives me a better user experience. Insofar as obviously it's, you know, more screen, I can look at everything a little bit better. Let me make sure we're looking at the same thing. Yeah. So that's nice. That's a nice little workflow right there, being able to completely utilize smart controls. Everything is the same. I've got the controls tab, the EQ tab. I can control what I'm looking at. Is it the sends? Is it the track? Do I want to look at the master smart controls up here? Okay. So with that being said, when we clicked on the low cut frequency in the, you know, in that other screen, I couldn't really see all the parameters that I had mapped, but here we can clearly see he's got the low cut frequency mapped and he has the peak 2. So the second frequency band inside of the EQ, I'm controlling the gain. So I don't need the second one. You can see it's unmapped, right? So why don't we go ahead and delete it? Is there a way just to delete this one? Yes, there is. We'll click on delete. And now we have these two working for us. Now there's more controls in here, which we need to look at as well. So let me go ahead and go back to the previous screen, but just want to, you know, make sure you guys understand that if you need some information and you want to look at the screen a bit better, you shouldn't rely on just the tracks area. You've got other windows that you can view. All right, so let's see here. We're going to open the plugin window for a mapping. Click the plugin icon next to the name of the mapping. Okay, so let's see. See this little icon here? I believe that's going to actually open up the plugin. Yeah. So rather than having to, you know, move away from this parameter mapping area, you don't have to go to the channel strip. You don't even have to go over here to EQ. You can just click right there. This pops up right in front of you. So that will certainly expedite your workflow. So that's really nice. So when you click on that plugin icon, you can control click the screen control, then choose open plugin window from the shortcut menu. Screen control. I'm not sure what they mean by this part, to be honest. Screen, select a screen control. Are they talking about these buttons here? I think they are. I think that's the official term, screen control. I control click. Let's see. Nope, nothing's changed. What about here? Okay. So once you've mapped out one of these parameters, you can see that I have the low cut, high cut, and this one has two mappings, as you may have remembered this first one. Okay, well, like if I want to make some adjustments or what have you, when I control click on the parameter that I assigned or has been pre-assigned, I can open the plugin window that will then bring up the plugin in question. Why would you want to do it this way? I don't know. Maybe you want to change the parameter or add a mapping. So that is available to you. What else, Logic Pro? What else do you got for me? Page 627. Let's copy a mapping. All right. So we go through the usual process. We select the screen control. Then we click a mapping and we choose copy mapping. Then we choose another parameter and we paste mapping. So look, I have a really cool low cut peak 2 volume decibel thing here. So why don't I click on the action gear menu and we will copy. And I don't know, maybe you want to do it again or on another track. I click on another. Let me do this one that's unmapped. I will click on the action gear menu again. I will paste and this will warrant the same results. So we get that low cut and we get that increase in volume as well, from what I believe. At least we should. Maybe not. Let me see. Why is this volume up? Let me click on Let me reset this value to see if it's still working. Double click, hit 0. So let's see, raise this up. Is it still working? It looked like it just copied one of the maps. What about when I click on this one? Okay, this one seems to have it. So I copied one of the mapping and yet not the other one. So let me click on this one again. And this time, instead of the low cut frequency, I'll make sure this is in key focus. I'll click on the action gear menu. I'll copy it. Let's go to the second parameter, add a mapping, right? I'm going to add the mapping first so it has something free. And again, the navigation here could be way better, but still, we click there and we paste. So theoretically, I should have both now. I'm not sure if it actually happened. Again, it's hard to see within this window, but let's try this out. Doesn't really look like it. But anyway, that's how you use it. It's really nice when it works. You got to play with it. I'm also, I have like 45 programs on here, so that could be something else. But this one's working quite nice, and you can copy and paste the parameters into another unmapped parameter. I guess I'll try this one more time. I will copy, and then I will go to, let's go to this one, and we will paste. Now it's saying, hey, do you want to replace? Do you want to swap? No, we're going to replace everything. All right, good. And let me just try this one more time. No, it seems like it's just getting the low cut. And if you wanted to copy the other ones, you would have to take the time, copy each and every one and paste it over. But still, really nice feature. If you find anything different, let me know because it should work. But here, let's copy all mappings. Let's see, maybe this is the solution. So we go to click mapping, choose copy all mappings. Maybe it's as simple as that. Let's try this again. We click here, low cut frequency, click on there. Okay, so here's part of the issue. And you know what? I remember running into this when I was teaching over at hfmusicacademy.com. They don't have copy all mappings. They have map all controls. So this seems to be null and void. Let's go ahead and scratch this because it doesn't seem like it exists anymore. So as you know, I am on a quest to get this updated. I know that in the right hands, the right person reads it, the right group reads it, can certainly make a difference. And so I'm just trying to save people some time, strike through. All right, so this is not correct. We can actually reorder the mappings. So let's read about this, shall we? It says here, if a screen control has multiple mappings, a handle indicated by 3 dots appears on the left edge. Okay, so how do you know if you have multiple mappings? You're looking for the 3 dots on the left-hand side. Left each mapping in the Smart Control Inspector. I'm looking for those 3 dots. I don't see them. So that you can reorder the mappings in the list. The screen control values are determined by the topmost mapping. Okay, so let's read on here. If you select the screen control in the Smart Control Inspector, drag a mapping up or down by its handle. All right, cool. So you can actually move these around, it looks like. So let's try this out. Yeah, that's cool. All right, I dig that. That seemed to lose everything. Is that gone? Yeah, this needs to be fixed. I don't like how small this is. Let me go back to this other menu. What is that, Command 4? No, Command, 3. What is it? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so Inspector. So I'm just opening up the Smart Control window. Just gives me a lot more space to work with here. All right, let's see. What are we getting into here? I'm looking for, this is cool. Show the value as percentage. Let me take that. So we're clicking on this one, and I'm just curious if there are more than one mapping. I don't see it. So I'll click on this button here. The plugin should come up. Awesome. I'm gonna learn a new parameter. So let's do learn. I guess I'll type, yeah, let's go with that one. Okay, good. And so again, still not able to see this menu very well, even though this is an extended menu. This definitely needs to be improved. Yeah, it's just not, it's not clean. Here, let's click here, this action gear menu. Let me add mapping. Okay, I think that's what it is. I'm thinking that it's like already in there where you have to add the mapping first. Yes, they're holding you accountable, basically. All right, so I click on this one. This one is unmapped. And remember, this all has to do with parameter number 1, because if I click on parameter number like 4, for example, this is its own unique entity. So this first knob has these 3 mappings. 2 of them are unmapped. Let me just map something really quick. I will hit learn. Okay, I'll click on any one of these parameters. All right, so then we have that one set up, and let me just learn one more thing. I'll click there. I'll hit learn one more time, and then I'll just click on this parameter here. All right, good. So now we're talking 3 parameters inside of 1. Again, if I click here, there still is no way to copy all mappings. Looks like we could just copy 1 at a time, and I just want to corroborate that. So I'm going to go here, and then if I click on this guy and I paste it, we should see that previous mapping. Let's just replace it. Yeah. So no way to copy all mappings so far as the eye can see. So that's pretty cool. Where are we here with this? Reorder. Oh yeah, we talked about basically moving these around. And what's the value of that? You can reorder. The screen control values are determined by the topmost mapping. So I guess whatever's on top is controlling the values. So that's cool. All right, we talked about deleting mappings. We know how to do that. And I believe there's also a setting to delete all patch mappings. So we don't have the ability to copy all, but we certainly have the ability to delete all. And let's see, was there anything else in regards to this? I don't think so. I think there was one thing I wanted to tell you. What was it? I had it in the back of my head. No, I think it's good. All right. So deleting, we understand how to do that. Editing mapping parameters. So it looks like there's more to it. It's not as simple as just raising something up or down, right? If you go into the parameter mapping area, there is a lot here. There is a lot that you can do. I mean, on top of just at the most basic level, we can reorder these, right? As we've learned, and that affects the on-screen controls. Well, more important than that is you can play with the range, right? How high or how low that goes. You can invert the channel so that behaves a little bit differently. Looks like we can play with something called scaling. See if I could show you this. Is this going to open? Yeah, check this out. You can determine how this moves. So that's pretty impressive, pretty sophisticated. And so that's what we're going to cover the next time that we meet. Let me go back here. Good. So yeah, we'll be talking about all those little details, how to invert the values and when and why that would be applicable. Again, we're talking about the parameter graph window. If you've ever seen this, it looks something like out of Serum or Kilohertz. Yeah, we'll be talking about editing that graph. And then finally opening up the plugin window for mapped screen control, renaming a screen control, and all sorts of good stuff. So I'm going to catch you guys tomorrow. We'll be mapping articulation ideas as well, assigning hardware controls to screen controls in Logic Pro so you can use your MIDI controllers as you are playing with all this great information. So guys, thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. It's Monday. We're just getting warmed up. It's going to be a great week. I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. And look, whatever is going on, just keep going. Not that complicated. You already know you love the plugin, the program. You already know that this is what you want to do, what you've dedicated your life to do. So it's quite simple, really. One foot in front of the other. And I will catch you tomorrow. Stay up, stay happy, and remember to always keep growing, keep learning, keep evolving, and keep your frequency high. We'll see you guys later. Cheers. Oh, no music today. All right, then we're going to end in the best way possible. We're going to bring some energy to it. One sec. Even when you don't feel like it, stay committed. Let's go!